What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. This is crazy. I was trying to get on the PTR all morning to test out some Ellie Shaman stuff, and it's been offline. I was trying to wait for it to get on, and then finally this thing popped up like an hour ago, and oh my god, there are some crazy changes here to Mythic Plus. So let's just dive right in and see what Blizzard has recently posted here. Greetings! As we continue to watch everyone play Mythic Plus on the PTR and take in your feedback, we wanted to share additional changes to this week's PTR. Our changes this week aim to further lessen the impact of affixes on Mythic Plus dungeon gameplay, WoW, and to match our more challenging affixes to later keystone levels as players progress through the system. This is exactly what everyone has been asking for, so that we're not just playing a Mythic Plus. We actually get to play the dungeon, and the Mythic Plus affixes are just there on top. A lot of times you're just playing the affixes, right? That's what people want to get away from. Keystone affixes. We have been evaluating our affix tiers and their impact on keystones. While we feel the change to bring affixes online at 7 and 14 is healthy, good, I wanted to also ensure that the right level of challenge is coming online at 7 and 14. With that said, we feel our current level 7 affixes have a larger impact on the moment-to-moment gameplay for groups, and we have decided to switch the levels of the keystone affixes come online. This part I kind of disagree with in terms of what they're doing, so watch this. Excuse me. Periodic affixes are now added to keystones at level 7. Affixes that trigger on death or health ranges have been moved to 14. So they basically took them and just flipped them all. So Afflicted, Incorporeal, Volcanic, Entangling, and Storming now come on at level 7. Spiteful, Raging, Bursting, Bolstering, Sanguine come on at level 14. So I don't mind this change. I mean, ultimately, you're going to have to deal with both of them anyway when you're doing high keys, just like you normally have. However, I just feel like they're saying here, we feel our current level 7 affixes have a larger impact on moment-to-moment gameplay. So they're saying these these ones here, they're saying, had too much of an impact on moment-to-moment gameplay, but these ones are absolutely going to have an impact on moment-to-moment gameplay. Like, Afflicted and Incorporeal have massive implications on your moment-to-moment gameplay. Entangling does as well. Maybe Volcanic and Storming would be the only two that don't really have an actual impact on your moment. All you have to do is, like, move away from them, right? But, like, Afflicted and Incorporeal has massive implications to your moment. You have to stop and kick it or stop what you're doing and stun the mobs that have spawned. So I don't really know how I feel about this point. It's a little, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's a little weird that they say it like this. Again, I don't care because I'm going to be doing both affixes anyway when you get to the higher level keys. But for newer players, for a brand new player, let's say, starting Mythic Plus, and they do a +2 and then a +4 and then a +6, and then boom, they get into a +7 key with their buddies, and they run into Incorporeal, that's going to have a larger impact on their gameplay than if they ran into, like, Raging, I think. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It doesn't really affect me. So just know that all the affixes got flipped. You're going to run into these early on, and then you're going to run into these later on. Let's move on. This is the big stuff down here. This is absolutely crazy, guys. In addition to the changes above, we've also reviewed the impact of our affixes and made tuning adjustments with the goal of lessening their overall impact on dungeon gameplay. This is huge. This is what people have been wanting. I want to play Brackenhide Hallow. I don't want to play Raging, Entangling in Brackenhide Hallow. Like, I don't want those things to take over the entire dungeon. Explosive will be retired for Dragonflight Season 2 and replaced by Volcanic. Holy cow, this is crazy. I think that they were really struggling to get Explosive into a place where they wanted it to be. Explosive right now, there's too many of them that spawn because it scales with the number of mobs that you have in there. So if you pull 20 mobs, you're going to get like 30 explosives, and the healer has to deal with it. So they're like, we don't want this to be a healer mechanic. So they thought that they would give it more health and make it spawn less, but in our testing, it obviously didn't really accomplish that. They were impossible to kill, and they spawned at a similar rate to what they used to. So thank God they're just getting rid of it. This is really, really good. This is a massive deal. Now you no longer will have to deal with it. Volcanic is the most brain-dead mechanic out there. You just have to take one step to the side. There's really not a lot going on with Volcanic, positioning-wise. Or no, it's a positional mechanic as opposed to like a DPS mechanic or a healer mechanic where you have to get rid of these explosives. So, wonderful change. Wonderful, wonderful change. Probably the biggest change here on this list. Incorporeal beings now fade away when combat with non-incorporeal beings has ended. This is, again, a change that we did hear about potentially coming last week. Thank God they've actually done it. This is a massive deal because, again, there would be times where you would be fighting one last mob in a pack, and then, like, 2 incorporeal beings would pop up on their, like, timer. And then you have to sit there for 20 seconds and kick these idiots while you're wanting to get to the next pack. So, thank God they got rid of that as well. Entangling. Entangling snare effects have been reduced to 30%. Was 50. Okay, nice. Entangling now has a visual indicating the maximum range of the vine. Not quite sure what that means yet, but any further clarification on where the vines are or when the vines are happening is a huge deal, okay? Entangling now has a distinct sound cue when applied to players. This is exactly what I was asking for in my video. I think if you watched my video on this when I was in my dungeon, you could basically not see it. I was in an underrot, and, like, it's all full of, like, you know, gross, like, nature kind of stuff. So when these little vines pop out of the ground, it's like, I don't know where these things are. The floor's all dark. So thank God they're doing this. This is really good. Now there's a distinct sound cue when applied to players, and of course it's been nerfed. So big stuff. Entangling was, like, pretty easy in my opinion to deal with, but they're just making it even easier now, which is great. Afflicted souls. Health no longer scales after Keystone level 20. I don't think this really solves any issue that people were having. People's frustration with Afflicted was that their health was scaling even in the lower key levels. Like, when I'm doing a 14, 15, 16, like, the health is scaling. And it's like, if 3 of them spawn at the same time, my healer needs to, like, work really hard to get rid of them all, sort of. But I think Afflicted is still the easiest mechanic by far. This Afflicted is only really a problem if you have a team comp that's like Rogue, Hunter, Warrior, Tank, Demon Hunter, and then a healer. Then it's all on the healer to get rid of every Afflicted soul that spawns. So that's the only real issue that I can see. Every other tank in the game, except for DK and I guess not every other tank. I guess it's mostly like Paladin, Monk. They can help you deal with the Afflicted soul. But if you have any DPS that can also deal with it, that have a kick or have a like a dispel of some kind, like Rat Paladin, Windwalker, both shamans. There's a bunch of priests can get disease. There's a bunch of really good, easy ways to get rid of it. So this scaling is kind of like, I wish they had said Afflicted souls no longer scale after Keystone level 10 or something, because that would make it, then you could heal them more quickly. But I don't know. We'll just have to see when we actually test it. It's not really a big deal. Spiteful. Spiteful Shade's melee damage reduced. Thank God. This is great. I hate Spiteful. So it's only 10%, but whatever. It's nice. Spiteful Shade's health and damage no longer scale after Keystone level 20. Again, I think that's irrelevant. I guess when you get to the really high Keystone levels, it's going to matter, but I wish that they had made this like level 15 or something. No longer scaled at after level 15. That would be kind of nice. Raging. This is huge. Big change to Raging. Raging now grants creatures immunity to crowd control effects for 20 seconds upon reaching 30% health. Was 50% increased damage. So this is insane. Raging no longer increases their damage. I think it still increases their health when they reach that level. I'm not actually I can't remember if Raging increases health. I think it does. But anyway, somebody tell me in the comments down below. Either way, no more damage amp on Raging, but they're immune to crowd control. But that's fine, because like if your tank is willing to pull the amount of mobs that they have pulled anyway, then they probably feel like they're equipped to deal with that pack, as long as the pack doesn't all get 50% more damage at the same time. So this is actually a fantastic change. This is a great change. Yes, your CC is going to be less effective not effective at all. Sorry, they're immune to crowd control. But I think like all that really means is your tank is going to have to kite a little bit, or if your tank is, again, your tank and your healer, if they understand that they are ready to go for whatever pull they want to do, then they have the tools ready to go to deal with the damage that's coming in anyway. And as long as the damage doesn't suddenly go up to the sky, then they'll be fine. So I think this is a great change for Raging. I actually love this. It'd be nice if you could use your crowd control, but you don't have to use your crowd control anymore because they don't do 50% more damage. So this is just a straight up buff for Raging. It's going to be easier to do Raging weeks, 100%. So really, really like this change. Bolstering. Bolstering no longer increases the health of affected creatures. Was health and damage. Holy cow. This is insane. You know, like, there's some of those weeks where you would have Bolstering going and, like, sometimes you'd be killing a mob and you might butt pull a whole other pack, and then that one mob dies, and suddenly the entire new pack that you just pulled is all 30% stronger. Like, they do more damage and they just got a bunch of health. So now it takes so much longer to kill them. This also prevented, in a lot of ways, this prevented Bolstering weeks from being able to chain pull. And now I wonder if you might be able to just chain pull back to back to back in Mythic Plus with Bolstering on the table. Because you're not going to be buffing the health. Yes, you're going to be buffing their damage a little bit, but maybe you can handle that. Maybe your tank's like, I don't care, I've got cooldowns ready to go. Let's keep chain pulling. And at least we're not going to be buffing the health of the mobs, which was really the biggest problem with this affix. So I'm really excited about Bolstering now because it feels like that chain pulling might be back, which is a huge deal. It really kills the pacing of Mythic Plus when you're not allowed to chain pull because it's a Raging week. So I think that's a massive deal. Or Bolstering, sorry. I think that's a massive deal for Bolstering. Really excited about that as well. Last one. Sanguine Ichor Puddles only last for 12 seconds, was 20. Again, this is really annoying in certain dungeons, right? Think of the first section of Ruby Life Pools and how you have to change the way that you pull that first corridor. This is still going to mean that you have to pull that first corridor a little bit differently. Maybe pull a big pack and then slowly backpedal back towards the entrance. And that's okay. I want these affixes to change your gameplay a little bit, but we don't want them to, like, ruin your gameplay where it's like, oh my god, I dropped one Sanguine Puddle and it's been up there for 10 seconds and all the mobs are about to step in it, and now it's going to be up there for 20 seconds, and now they all friggin' full healed and your run is over, basically. So now you're going to have less likely you're going to be healing enemies with Sanguine, which is very good. I think this is absolutely great. All these changes are insane, guys. Excuse me, just to summarize a bit, I think that the flip-flopping of the 7 and 14 affixes is kind of whatever. It's not going to matter to me because I have to deal with both of them anyway. For newer players, I think it's a little strange that they're going to run into Incorporeal early on because that requires a lot of attention. So I'm not really sure that's going to work out. These changes are insane. Explosive is gone. Incorporeal beings are gone when combat ends. Entangling is nerfed and more visually and audio, more obvious to players when it's happening. There's an audio cue now. Afflicted didn't really change much. Spiteful Shades don't do as much damage. Raging is completely nerfed to the ground, basically. It's such an easier mechanic to deal with now because you're not getting 50% increased damage done. Bolstering no longer bolsters the health, so you can chain pull, and Sanguine doesn't last quite as long. This is nuts. These changes are so good for Mythic Plus. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think this is a massive win for Blizzard. This is just going to make Mythic Plus more fun for everybody. A little bit easier, and more importantly, more fun. Way more fun. Way more motivating to go in and deal with these affixes on a daily basis, okay? Let me know what you guys think in those comments down below. I love y'all. I will see you in the next one.